Max 8 has a hidden superpower called node.js. Node.js is a version of JavaScript. If you're unaware, JavaScript is the programming language of the internet. It's built into every browser, and it allows for interaction and dynamic websites and stuff like that. Node.js is a browserless implementation of the programming language that allows you to use JavaScript in apps and in the terminal, similar to C and Python, etc. But the real power of Node, because it's just JavaScript, right? Nothing special. The real power of Node is something called the Node Package Manager, or NPM. NPM is a way to very easily install external Node packages that expand the capabilities of the software. Mainly, NPM allows you to interact very simply with APIs. That's what we're going to do today. We're going to use a Node package to pull direct links to a YouTube video, which then we can play back using a Jitter object. This is a useful tool both for processing audio and video from a YouTube video. Whatever you're interested in, we can help you out with that. This tutorial will require some simple JS programming though. I use an IDE, which is an integrated development environment. I use VS Code, which is the Microsoft code thing, but you can also use like Xcode, and there's a few others. You don't need that. You could use the built-in text editor in Max, and that will work just fine. It just won't highlight and give you error warnings or whatever, syntax errors and stuff like that. So let's get started. So I have my VS Code window on one side, and I have my Max window on the other. What I do is, since we're working with external files, I tend to use projects for that instead of just standalone Max patchers. If you want to create a new project, you can go to File, New Project right here, and it will open a project window like this. You can click the little plus button. If you want to add files that are already on your computer, you can click Add Existing Files. If you want to create a new file from scratch, you can click Add New File. We'll do that. Make sure the file type is apacher.maxpat. And then I called it YouTube Player. You can do that too. I'm not going to make mine right now because I already have it here. Projects are great because it manages all of the external files and file paths for you, so you don't have to worry about that. It's easy peasy. All happens in the background. You can easily add files to the project, and that adds those files to the file path. It's fantastic. We love it. The patch at the end of the day is just going to be a few objects. Most of the work is being done in Node, in the node.script object. And fortunately, it's just a few lines of code. And it's fairly easy to understand, even if you have no JS experience. So this will be a great primer into some JavaScript programming. Just to get things set up later, let's go ahead and create our JS file, which will host all of our Node.js code. So I'm going to open up the project window again. I'm going to go to File, Add New File, and I'm going to make a YouTube node. I'm going to call it YouTube node, and I'm going to make sure the file type is JavaScript. Should end in .js. Working with projects, it's when you create a new project file, it's automatically going to save in the correct location, so we don't have to worry about that. Press save. For me, it opened up automatically in VS Code because that's my default IDE. For you, if you don't have that set up, it'll open up in the default Max text editor, which is fine. Works exactly the same. So we have that open and ready to go. This is just to prevent any errors when we go ahead and make the node object, which we're going to do right now. So the core of this patch is the node.script object. This will host the node instance that runs our JS code. So we're going to make a node.script object with a few attributes and arguments. First, we give it the file name, and I called it YouTube node.js. If you named it something different, you would put in that file. And then I'm also going to give it at auto start 1 and at, what's the other one? watch one. So, obviously YouTube node.js refers to our JS file that it's reading from. Auto start one means the node script will start automatically as soon as the file is loaded. If I didn't have this, we would have to put in a message to start the node script. Oh, I need to add watch one. There we go. And watch one will reload the node script anytime there's a change in the file. So anytime we save over here, it's automatically going to update here. If we didn't have this, we would have to delete the object and bring it back so that it reloads the new file. Let's go over to our JS file, and we're going to type in a few things. When working with node packages, you have to specify in the JS code that you're using those packages. We'll be using two packages, one to interact with Max, right? That's not built into Node. We have to specify to Node, these are the packages we're using. And we have to tell Node we're working in the Max environment. The second one is called YTDL. That's the Node package that's going to allow us to interact with YouTube and get the direct links to YouTube videos. First, we can type in const YTDL equals require YTDL dash core. And then you have to put a semicolon at the end. Next is the Max API. So const Max API equals require Max dash API. So save those. Let me let my dogs in. Dogs secured. Okay. So we have addressed what packages we want to use in our code, but now we need to actually install those packages. You may think we need to go to the npm website, find the package and download it from there, and then drop it in the project. No. We can actually have Node automatically handle the downloading and file management of these packages. So make sure your code's saved, and then we're going to go back to the Max Patcher, and we're going to have a couple messages. Script, npm init, and then script npm install YTDL dash core at latest. Latest. You'll connect these to the inlet. I'm going to throw a load bang. Once you run these once, technically you don't need to run it every time, but just in case anything happens to the files or whatever, I just want to make sure that all of the npm files all the package files are in place every time the patch loads. So I'm going to do that, and then I am going to double click the load bang once the patch is locked, and that will activate these two messages. So messages starting with script denote a node console command. In a pure text environment, you would activate these commands in the console. npm init sets up npm and creates a number of files to keep track of any installed node packages. npm install YTDL core at latest installs all the relevant code for that particular package. When you go to the npm website and find a package you would want to use, it tells you how to install it. It'll say, install this name. So let's talk about what YTDL does. YTDL is a wrapper for the YouTube API. API stands for Application Programmer Interface. Developers allow ways for programmers to expand and use their apps through the use of APIs. So any app that has a Google Drive plugin, stuff like that, that's using Google's API. If you have ever worked directly with Google's APIs specifically, but most interfacing directly with most APIs are a pain. They're complex, obtuse, and often hard to use and understand. YTDL has handled all that complexity for us and has made it very easy for us to use. All we have to do is provide a YouTube link, and YTDL will pull all of the relevant information for us. So why do we need YTDL anyway? If Jit.movie can play video files off the internet, why can't we just provide it with a YouTube link? Jit.movie needs the direct link to the video file. The YouTube URL is not the direct link to the file and whatever server it's stored in. It's stored at another address on YouTube servers, and the YouTube link knows where to pull that from. And all that information is in the YouTube link. YTDL finds that information for us and provides it to us. The node script will then send the actual URL of the video to the jit.movie object, and then it can play it back. There's a couple ways we can interact with the node.script object. So let's go back to our code. We need to worry about inputs and outputs in or out of our code. We can do that through the add handler and output or outlet objects in Node. And those are defined by the Max API. Also, I will say, notice I did not have a script npm install Max API. That's because this implementation of Node has that already built in, so we don't need to specify it. Let's demonstrate how we can get information into the Node script and then out. So let me add this line of code. Max API.add handler should be like this. And I'll explain what everything is doing in a second. Open, oh my God, open, comma, parentheses URL. And then I'm going to, let's actually set this up. Bam, no, it should be this. Should be this equals arrow notation. This is a return function. I don't need this guy. Max API dot outlet parentheses URL comma URL. This guy. Okay, save that. Make sure that saves. So what did I just do here? Max API.add handler specifies messages into the Node script. There's a matching item, I like to call it, and that's open in this case. This URL will be replaced by our URL at some point, and that's why I gave it that name. But this is acting as a variable. It's then going to pass along this URL variable, whatever the second message is in our message. That's going to pass along to this URL, and then Max API.outlet is going to output a message with the prefix URL, and then whatever the second item is. That may be a little confusing. It'll make sense in a second if I'm any good at this. And keep in mind, the Max API name for this could be anything. We can change it to banana or apple, whatever, and it would still work as long as it's consistent. If I changed const Max API to const apple and then replaced all of these with apple, then it would work exactly the same. It's just having clear and concise code is nice. So I just want to remind myself and whoever may look at this code in the future, oh, I'm calling the Max API here. That's what this does. Cool. So let's demonstrate that in Max. So I'm going to have the matching item open, and then I'm going to pass along a second. This is what's going to be placed in the URL variable. I'm just going to call it test for now. Here. And then I'm going to have another message down here, just so we can see what it does with that. So I'm going to click this, and it's going to pass along URL test, which is exactly how it should be. URL is our prefix for .outlet, and then it's going to pass whatever variable we send. So we change this to, I don't know, Bob, and then pass that along again. It's going to say URL Bob. What if we don't use open? What if we say close? What's going to happen? I cleared this down here just so we can be sure. If anything, it passes through the node script. I'm going to click this, nothing happens, because this function is not called unless we pass it the open matching item. I'm going to change this back to URL, or no, open. And the reason I used open is because this is going to be the YouTube link. So my thought process is open this link, and then it passes that along. So this is all you need to know with how to interact Max with Node and vice versa. You can have different add handlers with different matching indexes to run different code or run different functions based on what input is coming in. So you can have a single node script that's handling a ton of different functions. The reason why we need to have multiple add handlers is because there's only one inlet and one outlet in node.script. So we need to route the inputs and outputs based on these matching indexes. Let's actually work with YTDL right now. So let's go back to our code and add these lines. It's going to be a little bit of work, so just bear with me for a second. I'll explain what each thing does once I get through it. YTDL get info. This is a function of YTDL. Then I don't like how it's not indented. Then info parentheses. Oh no, this guy. There we go. And then I'm gonna do this. Gonna do that. And then I'll need a semicolon there. And then I'm going to say let video equals YTDL.choose format. And it's auto-filled that for me. Info.formats, comma, curly brackets, quality. That didn't autofill. Quality, quotes 18, and then max API.outlet video underscore URL, comma, video.url. Okay, so what does each line do? Obviously, we know what the add handler does when it receives the message open followed by a set, or when it receives the message open, it's going to use the second item of that list to set the variable URL equal to that. YTDL.getInfo URL, or this function connects to the YouTube API and pulls all the relevant info of that URL. So you can actually pull info like duration, upload date, amount of comments, amount of likes, whatever it may be. So but right now we just care about the actual video URL. So that's the only thing we're doing. So that this then nomenclature, this is what's called, but it's a callback function. Once YTDL get info URL, once that receives the relevant info, then, or once it actually loads it, gets a response from the server, then it runs, this info is that's the name of, obviously, the data we received. So then it runs these lines of code. So what I'm doing here with let video, I'm assigning video, a variable called video, to YTDL.choose format. This function's built into YTDL. So it's pulling the formats, info.formats, from what's it called? From the info object. And what's this quality 18? Well, YouTube has a whole variety of codes, what they call the different qualities. It's not just simple like 1080p or whatever, because there's different codecs as well. So they have a bunch of different codes. I'm going to pull 18 and I'll explain why in a second. But that's what I'm doing there. And then this YTDL choose format is returning the actual video URL. So then I pass that along to the max API.outlet. Video URL is our max matching index, and video.url is the URL stored in this video object. So now, obviously, if I do open Bob, nothing's going to work. But if I pass it an actual URL, and I have a YouTube URL right here, if I pass that along, there we go. And you see it's replaced with this really long URL. And if I actually copy this, there we go. If I pass that along here, we get our video. So this is what Max wants, just a direct link to the video, nothing else. Now let's get it playing within Max. So in order to do that, I'm just going to get rid of that for a second. I need a route video underscore URL. The route object, routes based on index matching. So video URL, if it receives a message that starts with video URL, it passes whatever's after that through the route. So just to demonstrate that, I'm going to plug in another message, and then I'm going to click open my link again, and then it just passes the URL. So that URL is what jit.movie wants. So I'm going to use jit.movie tilde. Oh, sorry. I need a prepend read. We love that. Nope. So prepend read from the video URL. And then I am just going to cheat a little and say play bar instead of using QMetro. This will just make playback a little easier. I'm going to drag that there. And then I'm going to go a jit.p window. Let me comment that in so we know what that is. Jit.p window. Jit.p window is just a little mini preview window of what's coming out. Oh, and the third inlet is the matrix, which is the video data. So there is a jit.movie without the tilde that does playback audio, but it doesn't respect the normal MSP rules, how audio should travel through cables. Jit.movie, audio just plays back through your audio device, and it's annoying. I don't like that. Plus, jit.movie tilde will allow us to send those, send that data to other places, or send that audio other places to be processed, or whatever we want to do. I'm just going to make a DAC, digital to analog converter, which will be my output. I'll take the first two inlets. So now, if I run this open, there we go. And we can use play bar to scrub and playback and loop and whatever. If you're not getting audio, make sure your DAC is on. You can press it down. You can press this on button down here. That'll turn your DAC on. And if you still don't hear anything, if you see audio coming through here, but no, you don't hear anything, you can go to options, audio status, and then you can change your output device here and make sure it matches up to your computer output you're expecting. Cool. So we have our video, but you may notice, oh, it's very low quality. And that's not just because of the, I don't know how well you can see it on here. It's not just because of the P window. This 18 quality refers to 360p. Why did we choose such a low quality when we could use 1080p? 360p is the only codec or the only quality on YouTube that saves the audio with the video. Every other quality, the video is saved, or the video and audio are saved in separate files. So if we want to get the higher quality video And the audio, we'll have to use two separate streams in this YTDL object or function, which is a-okay. If you're happy with 360p quality, you're done. You can leave. Bye-bye. But if you want to know how to use full quality video with audio, you can stick around for just a little bit. So we're going to, in the YouTube node.js file, we're going to request two qualities, one 1080p with no audio, and then we'll also call the 360p video with the audio and just run them simultaneously. We won't share, or we won't output the 360p video. We will just output the audio from that video, if that makes sense. So we can do a couple things. Let's get rid of this p window. I'm just going to say jit.window at floating. Yes, at floating 1. Okay, so I just went into the inspector. You can click an object and then click this little eye here. They'll go into the inspector for that object, and then you can change all of the attributes individually. I just added this floating window style so that it doesn't disappear when I click into the max patch. So we can always see the window here. Cool. A couple of attributes I'm going to add to the jit.movie object. First, I'm going to add Addendum 1920 by 1080. At adapt 0 and at auto start 0. Cool. So now I'm going to take all of this, I'm going to take all of this below the route object, and I'm going to copy it, paste it, move it over. All right, a couple things. First, I'm going to delete this jit.window because this is going to be our audio feed. In the route object, I'm going to add a second routing index, which is going to be audio_URL. And I will show why in a second. I'm going to just get rid of the DAC here. So this is going to be our video feed. This guy right here. This is going to be our video feed, and this is going to be our audio feed. So we need to send the proper links for both. We can do that by adding just a few additional lines of code in the YouTube node.js. Also, let's make sure to pass this audio URL output to this prepend to read. Oh, one more thing we have to add over here. So we have to make sure we start and stop playback together. Jit.movie uses a start and stop message to start and stop playback, obviously. Let's pass those to both objects. And then I'm going to make a cell object 0, 1. And then I'm going to have a toggle. If you press T on your keyboard, that's how you get this. Let me actually write that down. T on keyboard. To get this toggle object, toggle is a GUI object, GUI graphical user interface object. If the patch is locked, you can click on it, and it sends out a 1. When it turns off, it sends out a 0. And these are actually reversed. Should be like this instead. Oop. Do we see that? So start. So when it receives a 1, it's going to activate the start message. That's going to go to both jit.movies. And then when we click it to turn it off, it's going to send a stop, which will pause it. Let's go back here. And we just have to add a couple of lines of code. First, let's just copy all of this jam. Let's do this. Also, theoretically, there should be a semicolon there, but that didn't stop us, did it? Just good. Nice, cleaner code. So it's giving me an error because I'm trying to assign 2 video variables, which is against the rules in JS. So I'm going to say let audio and audio should be 18 because that's the 360p quality. I'm gonna pull a 1080p feed in this 240 with this 240 string. So we're outputting video URL, but we also have to output a audio URL. I'm gonna do that like this: audio underscore URL. I'm gonna change this to audio. Cool. Save that. Oh, my bad. Okay, I've found the issue. It's giving me an error because 240 is not an existing ITAG. I think that's what it's called. It's 248. Should be 1080p. So make sure you fix this line of code. Node script is saved. Now when I click open with the patch locked, it did send something out. If I press this, I get no audio though. Oh, there it is. Yeah, that's the thing. It may take a little bit for the YouTube video to load on both streams. Turns out 248 is not universal and it doesn't work for every video. Not every video has that format. 136 is a video format, is 720p, and it seems to work more broadly. So if you have some issues with 248, try 136. It'll be in 720, but it's better than nothing. The patch works. If you just like this and you don't want anything else, you don't want to do anything fancy with it, that's cool. I've used this for playback for AV shows and stuff like that. If I just needed a simple YouTube playback object, whatever. Notice no ads. If you just want to use this as a poor man's YouTube Premium, then by all means, just copy and paste YouTube videos you want to watch into Max. That's awesome. At this point, you can take the output of the video feed and the output of the audio feed and process it however you want. I think for a future tutorial, I'm going to take this basic concept and I'm going to make it, or I'm going to add random locations, like pulling random locations from the video and playing that back, and maybe doing like some stuttering and stuff like that, both for the audio and video. But if you're only interested in one, then you can do that. Hope this was a good intro to Node and just a tiny little bit of JS programming. Very simple, very easy to use, and a lot of these Node packages are simple to use. If there's something you're interested in working with, maybe you want to pull, I don't know, TikToks or I don't know, stuff like that, check out mpjs.com. That is the Node Package Manager website. You can, Google TikTok API or whatever and see if someone has a Node package for that. And most of them are very simple to interact with, just like this.